Every client has unique preferences: communication style, approval process, brand voice, revision rounds, and all this info lives in your head, scattered emails and random Slack messages. Your team is constantly asking questions repeatedly like, how does client X want this again? And you lose 10 to 15 hours every week being your institution's memory bank. Today, we're going to talk about the SOP that changes everything and why every client needs their own playbook. Let's get into it.
Taking creatives from chaos to clarity.
Welcome back to Creativity Made Easy. I'm Dustin Pead, your creative operations partner, and I'm so glad to be with you for another episode of Creativity Made Easy. Today, like I said at the top, we're going to dive into the one SOP that changes everything. But before I do that, I want to remind you that I'm here to help creative businesses unleash their best work through operational efficiency. You can find out more about that and how I can help you and your team at dustinpead.com. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to tell a story here, and to protect the innocent, we're going to call this person Nathan. Okay, so Nathan, right, was a client of mine, and he was drowning in remembering how his 7 to 8 plus regular recurring retainer clients, how they operate, right? He's working 60 hours a week, and 15 of those hours every single week was just answering the same questions over and over again. How does this person like this? How does this client want this again? What do we do for this client? Because all that stuff starts to get mixed up when it's all living in your head, in one person's head. And so what we did is we implement what we called individual client SOPs, or individual client playbooks. I love playbooks. And the result was that he was able to recover back about 10 of those hours every single week that he was losing. And the bonus was that a new hire that he had brought on recently was able to start being productive in week 1 instead of week 6 after long amounts of training. And the solution was this client SOP, this client playbook. So I want to walk through the 5 sections that every client playbook should have. And the first one is this: communication preferences, right? What's their preferred method of communicating? Slack, email, project management software, phone call, text, what is it, right? And now you may be thinking, oh, well, we make all of our clients do this one thing. And in an ideal perfect world, I'm right there with you. It would be great if I had all my clients to consistently use Slack. You know who I'm talking about if you're listening to this. But that's not always the case. Some people prefer email. Don't know why, but they do. Some people prefer to put all their notes in the ClickUp or the Monday.com or the Asana or whatever it is they're using. Some people are like, man, just call me. Some people are like, just text me. And understanding what that is for everybody and remembering what that is for everybody can get really frustrating. When you reach out to a client in a way that they don't prefer and you don't get an answer back, it's because you didn't reach out to them in their preferred method. But if you don't remember what that preferred method is, then that's going to cause that friction point, you see? So preferred method, right? Also, in the communication preferences, you want to notate what the response time expectations are. Not every client gets the same response time, right? There are larger clients that have been with you longer, or they pay more money, or their scope is larger, right? Maybe you have dedicated team members to help serve those clients. Those response time expectations are going to be different from a client who's just a one-off project here and there, and they don't really have a rush timeline. And so our expectations are going to change a little bit. Notating what that is super important. Who's the decision maker, right? Who gets CC'd in on communication? Is it just that one person, or is it that person and their assistant? It's those two people. Is it this person in this department and this person in this department? We need to know their names, and we need to know their emails or contact information, however it is that we're communicating with them. And then last thing here in the communication preferences is going to be a meeting cadence, right? What are the best connection times with them? Do we have a regular meeting cadence? If so, when is it? Side note, if you don't have at least a 15-minute monthly with each of your ongoing clients, that could be a huge issue. Stop the episode right here and go set that up, right? So a prime example could be, hey, we're going to Slack for quick questions. We're going to email for approval. Sarah is our primary contract. We're going to CC John. He's the business owner on anything that involves creative. Also, they don't do meetings before 10. So if we're going to schedule meetings, make sure they're not before 10. So meeting cadence, meeting preferences, things like that, all right in there. It's a simple bullet point of how to have your communication preferences. That's the first section of your client playbook. All right, the second section of your client playbook should be centered around scope and deliverables. These are things like what's included in their standard package, what's included when we deliver things to them, what are the things that we need to make sure are there. How many rounds of revisions are included? That's different for every single person. Again, depends on the scope of the project, depends on the depth, the time length, the relationship, all of the things, right? What are the file formats that they need? Do they need working files or just deliverable files? Do they need MP3s or MP4s? Do they need, JPEGs or PNGs? Like all these things matter, right? And what's not included? This is a good one because this prevents scope creep. And as you're referencing the playbook, you and your team, you want to protect your team's time by them not overworking something that's unnecessary for a client. Yes, every now and then you want to surprise and delight, and that's great, but it's not the norm. And perfect example is this of this is I was recently working with a client, and we were talking about, well, for this client we deliver A, B, and C and D, but for this client they only need deliverable B and C, and so we're trying to always remember that. So if we have this playbook, we can click on it, go right back and go, boom. I don't have to pick up the phone and call anybody. He doesn't have to pick up the phone and call anybody or Slack message anybody, interrupt anybody's work because he can reference that right there in the scope and deliverables section of the client playbook. Hey, I wanted to interrupt this episode to tell you something. Most creative consultants hand you a strategy document and they wish you luck. We do things differently at Chief Creative Consultants. We work with you as your fractional COO team. So we implement alongside your creative agency, not from the sidelines. So think do versus do framework, custom project management systems, and team workflows that actually stick. We're talking 10 to 15 plus hours recovered every week, eliminated deadline panic, and creative teams that know exactly what to do. So if your agency is scaling but your operations are stuck, let's fix that together. Head on over to dustinpead.com to schedule a discovery call today. Okay, now let's get back to the show. All right, section 3. This is brand voice and creative preferences, right? What's their brand voice? Is it playful? Is it corporate? Is it edgy? Is it conservative? Is it traditional? Like, what is it, right? What are their design preferences? What do they love? What do they hate? What have been past feedback patterns like, where they really lean into some edit notes here, but they don't really lean into too many notes over here, right? So an example would be like, hey, this is a conservative financial brand, right? No humor. They hate stock photos, right? Custom illustrations only, and keep the headlines under 8 words. Those are brand voice and preferences. Pro hack, this is also a great point to link to their brand guidelines right here in this section as well, so that the person on you or the person on your team doesn't have to go looking for it. You can put it right there. All right, section 4. This is approval process. Now, we talked a little bit about this in communication about who's responsible for the approval, right? So that's the very first thing in the approval process section is the approval chain, right? Who approves what and at what point? Are there internal rounds of approval before it goes to the client? If so, who is that and at what point is that? And then when you send it to the client, who does that need to go to, and at what point does it need to go to them? You can lay this out simply from left to right in a typical approval timeline. Get creative with it, mark it up, but make sure it's simple and easy to reference so that you and your team don't have to spend too much time looking at it to understand what you're looking at. Next part of the approval process that you're going to have in this section is what review format do they prefer? Do they need a PDF? Do they need a live link? Do they need a video? Do they need a prototype? Whatever it is, what's the review format preference? And are these reviews batched Or is it immediate feedback? As things come out, they're going to want to see it. Or do we batch them at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter? What does that look like? So an example could be, hey, reviews are internally first, right? Internal first. Then we're going to allow 3 days for those internal revisions. After that, we're going to have PDF mock-ups sent, not live links, right? And the feedback is done via email, never verbal only. I would say never verbal only feedback anytime for any client as far as verbal only, because then you can't document it. And what you don't document, you can't learn from. All right, last section of your client playbook or your client SOP is what we call the quirks and context question. This is kind of the miscellaneous and everything, but this is what makes this particular client unique. What are the unique client needs? What are the past challenges that you faced with that client, and what were the solutions? What are the personality types of this client? What are their notes, right? So an example could be, hey, this person or this company, they get really nervous about timelines. So let's build in, we already build in some buffer, right? Let's build in an extra 10% buffer there so that we can make them feel any better about it. They're this client, right? They might be night owls, right? They love to send feedback at 11 p.m. They love being involved in the creative process. So we're going to invite them to brainstorms. All of these things are super helpful to know. So the 5 sections of your client playbook: communication preferences, scope and deliverables, brand voice and creative preferences, what the approval process is, and quirks and context. All right, why this matters. I call this the vacation test, right? Without these playbooks or without these SOPs, your team is going to constantly text you or call you throughout your vacation with questions that could have been answered in a playbook or an SOP, right? With them, though, with the playbooks and with the SOPs, the team is going to operate independently from you, which means true freedom, right? The business can run without you so that you can focus on navigating the business where you want it to go creatively. So here are a few action steps for you. This week, I want you to pick your most complex client and begin creating that SOP, that playbook for them. It takes 30 to 45 minutes. You can use the 5-section template. I would literally, what we do is we kind of mind dump these 5 sections into Claude, and then we tell Claude, which is an AI program, we tell Claude, all right, now build this client playbook and ask us any clarifying questions as needed, right? It's super quick and super easy. Obviously, we want to make sure that these playbooks look identical each and every time. So in the project knowledge of that Claude, we're putting in a template and we say match it to the template that we've given you so that it looks the same every time. We don't want future us, or our team members to be constantly trying to figure out how to read the document. We want them to just be able to read the document, right? So do that. And then over the next 30 days, I want you to start logging every client question that your team asks you. If your team asks you a client question, your immediate thought shouldn't be just to answer it blindly. Yes, answer the question, obviously. But when they ask you a question, ask yourself, is this a question that I'm going to get asked again? Whether it be by that person or someone else or even future me, right? And if so, that means it needs to get added to the playbook. And over the next 90 days, start creating those playbooks for every active client. You can do 1 per week or 1 per month. That doesn't matter, right? Because what it provides is clarity. And we know our good friend Brene Brown always says, clear is kind and unclear is unkind. So stop being the human database. Document your client preferences once in a 5-section client playbook. It is your most important SOP. Your team and your future self will reference it forever without interrupting you, saving you 10 plus hours every single week. Next week, episode 150 of the podcast. I cannot wait to share some special things with you. It's going to be a real cool episode. Until then, have a great week and unleash your best work yet.